Hey everybody, and welcome to the third review on the channel. Again, part of a series that's covering brand new Game Pass Day releases. I will always remind everyone that Game Pass and its current pricing scheme is absolutely ridiculous for the average person. For me, I get use out of it. I'm using it to make content, so I don't mind paying it. I mean, I'm still annoyed every time I see the money come out of my bank account, but I get the value out of it. And I think the idea of this series is to see, is there value in it? Like, if they're going to release, I think they're meant to release 60 day one releases. Well, I'm going to be reviewing them all, and I by the end might do here's a year of Game Pass, a €30 video or something, where I'm like, this is what we got, and here are kind of my general thoughts across the board. Anyway, you've probably seen the title, and it says worst game I've ever played, or worst game I've played this year, and it is. That's not a clickbait title. I don't generally, like, when I'm clickbaiting, it's to get people's attention, but it's also what I'm feeling. Like, it's not like I'm doing it and then I'm going to have a different opinion when you hop on the video. I did find it to be the worst game I played this year. For a multitude of reasons. I would rather dive into the pros first before I harp on the negatives, because I think it's just a good way to kind of, hey, look, these are the things I liked. I didn't just hate everything. I'm not just here to be negative. If you watch the other reviews, you'll know that I'm generally trying to give games the benefit of doubt, especially when they fall into categories of games I don't enjoy. And horror and puzzle games are not really in my category of enjoyment. I have horror games and puzzle games I like, but generally they're not my favorite games. So, and this was both of those two things. And I think, as someone who went in blind, as I tried to go into games blind, because everyone on Game Pass, the majority, will be going in blind, I like to try and get that experience. And like, hey, much like when I played Skyrim for the first time, when you hopped into Skyrim, I wanted to be in that game the second I started playing it. For a good reason, because the game set you up to want to feel like you were in that game and immerse you in the world. Even if you never watched a video in Skyrim, which I didn't when I played at the time. But that's a good game, and that's a good design to open your game with. Anyway, enough kind of preemptive ranting before we get into the actual review. Do like and subscribe if you're new here and you like this kind of more, I like to call it natural content. Like, I don't overly edit my videos, not right now anyway. We are quite new, so it is just kind of me sat in a camera going, here's my thoughts. I do have like a list written here on the side just to keep me focused. It's not working very well, evidently, but it will now in a second. So let's just start off with the pros first of all. The graphics are gorgeous straight away. I really enjoyed the look of the game, the feel of the game. Those things were good. Like when I got in, I was like, this looks nice, and the atmosphere was fantastic. I remember opening the door, and I probably put a clip here. I opened the door in the little, because you start in a little room. You open the door, and the eeriness of that hallway was so good. I was already on stream being like, fuck, get me out of this place. I do not want to be here. And that's great. Like, that, the horror element was so there early on. I was like, this started out well. Now, oh no, I won't jump. I was about to jump into a con. I'll leave it, because if you start jumping in between cons and pros, it just gets confusing. I'll just sit to the good side of stuff and see if that ticks. The design, like, the game's really well designed. Like, you can tell there's no bugs. Like, everything works perfectly and smoothly, and like, you can tell the developers put so much time into this game. I did not play this game, even though I have such a negative opinion of it, and think the devs didn't work really hard on this game, because I can tell they did. Unfortunately, their efforts just didn't come to fruition. Sometimes you do put thousands of hours into something and you don't get the result you want. Football Manager, a game I love to play every year, the devs were just lazy on that game, and I have no problem criticizing developers, because if you're developing something, you are, and with a product or anything, I have a right to criticize. I think a lot of people don't don't put negative stuff out there. It's like, no, if you've made something and I've paid money for it, you're going to hear my negative feedback, and you're going to sit there and you're going to listen to it. You don't have to take it in. That's more on you as a person, but you're going to hear it. And look, they did work really hard, and I can see that. It just, as I said, when we get into it later, it didn't come to fruition for them. The horror, again, kind of going back to the atmosphere, like the horror, like, it felt like it was going to be really scary. And I think when I actually met the guy an hour in, it was quite scary. Like, in the stream, I'm so angry that I'm like, oh, I don't even care, this guy's shown up. I don't care, you're not even scaring me. And then he started chasing me, and I did shit my pants. And I'm sure there'll be a clip of that on the channel at some point, or you can go check out the live stream. But yes, the horror elements were there. It just took so long to get around to them, was a big frustrating. And like, finally, like, the whole concept was great. Like, I felt like the story and the idea was all there, and the dialogue felt good, and you felt immersed, and kind of, I could see what they were going for. I think is a big point of the pros. I could see, like, they were like probably there from having a really good game, but the bits that were missing in that little gap are really important bits. And that was kind of the problem. It was this close to just being amazing. And look, maybe it's like, I think if the dev sat down here, did a little bit of work, like, this game would go from what in my opinion is like a 4 3 out of 10 game to an an 8 instantly. Like, and there's very few, if they just change some subtle differences in the game, it would be better instantaneously, would play better. So look, they're the pros. It's not the longest list, and it is some what I would say generic stuff. Like, I expect a game to be well designed. I expect the game's graphics to match its feel. It's a horror game. I expect the atmosphere to be good. These are kind of, look, they've ticked those boxes, and you have to tick those boxes. And I expect no bugs on a full release. Like on an alpha, fine, or early access or whatever. On a full release, I think bugs are something you can be negative about. So like, they've ticked the boxes and they've done the, I don't want to say the bare minimum because that's a harsh statement, but they've done what they've had to do, and they've done it well, and that is important, because a lot of game studios now are just pumping out crap and then fixing it 3 months later. So they've, like, the game they pumped out is perfect for, I can tell what they wanted. That's what it seems like. It seems like this is what they wanted. I just don't think it's good. We'll jump into the cons now, which is a longer list, and I'm sure I will spend a lot more of this video in the cons section here now. Just a complete lack of direction. Like, awful lack of direction. Like, just everything you just have to figure out. And people might go, oh, with that, can you not figure stuff out for yourself? I'm like, no, I'm a relatively okay level of intelligent person, I would say. Like, I do well in college and stuff. Not that I always think that's the best measurement, but I'm not an idiot. And this game made me feel stupid, and I was just like nothing was given to you at all. I think they made this game, only they play tested it and kind of forgot that they knew everything about the game. And as someone who went in who knew nothing about the game, I had to look up stuff 4 times to get through, just to get to meet him. I looked up 4 things to figure out how to get through the areas of the game, and there was just so little guidance given to the player. And maybe that's what they were going for, but I think somewhere along the line in this development, they forgot we're here to play a video game. If I wanted to actually be trapped on a moon with a robot, well, one, I'd probably be some sort of psycho, or I don't know, there's definitely some sort of case for that. But like, I would just like put myself in a house with a bunch of like serial killers or something and have them hunt me across the house. That would give the same element here while I try and solve puzzles. Which again, it was just like, I was just getting frustrated because I was like, I'm trying to solve puzzles and I'm also meant to be scared. I'm like, the puzzles are so annoying and tedious to figure out already that I'm like, I don't have time for some guy to be running up my ass right now. I'm sure it would have made great content of me playing the game for 5 hours, because admittedly I only played 2 hours. And I know there'll be people watching this going, you only played 2 hours and you're telling me not to download the game, but what if it got good in the 3rd hour? And what if you read a book and you watch a movie or you watch a TV show, whatever, and this first half an hour of the movie, 10 episodes of the TV show, 3 chapters of the book are shit, I don't care if the rest is good, because you've lost me at the opening. The opening is the most important part of your game. I'd much rather you lose me at the 2nd hour than lose me in the first 10 minutes, There's games I could give you examples of where they lost me 10 hours in, but at least I had 10 hours of fun. And then they lost me, but at least I got 10 hours of fun. And this is a Game Pass review, so for me it's about, hey, I'm giving it the experience of, let me hop in and play this and see what it's like. I also, I have full-time stuff going on in my life, so YouTube's not my full-time job, so I don't really have time to play every single game that comes on Game Pass to full fruition. My job is to go, in my opinion, is to go in there, play the game. If it started out terribly and it continues to be terrible for a long time, then it's going to be getting a negative score. I'm not going to finish your game because, part of YouTube is meant to be fun for me, and it's not fun for me to sit there and just be frustrated for hours on end with no reward. Like, I get frustrated in multiplayer games, but there's a reward in there. You might win the next game. That's the little addicting thing in those games. For this, there was no reward. I opened the door and I was like, yeah, finally. That was the feeling consistently. It was just, finally, yeah. And it was just more like a puzzle game than a horror game. Like I said, meeting him an hour in, when I met him, I was just like, oh, yeah, okay, cool, you're here. Finally. So I was like, finally, we're here. I'm just complete lack of direction. Like, at one point, you were meant to shoot this box to open this gate. But then there's wire, like, and someone's going to be like, yeah, there's a wire to the box to the gate. There's wires everywhere, lads. There's wires everywhere in the game. How would I know that box would be the thing that opens the gate? And because then I went to the next terminal and that didn't work, and that had wires coming out of it left, right, and the kazoo. So I followed all the wires, and of course, it was a different thing I had to solve that time. And it was just, every single puzzle was a different puzzle. And maybe, I think they were trying to open you and go, hey, these are all the ways things can be solved. I think that's what they were trying to do. But what happened instead was, because of no direction, show, don't tell. And this game gave me pages of crap to read. I like reading. I've read all the Game of Thrones books multiple times. I could sit here and list all my books I've read. I don't want to read in a video game, lads. No one wants to read in a video game. Your fucking gun had a 4-page manual. I genuinely felt like I was in a 9 to 5 playing this game. I was going, when am I clocking off? Like, when's my shift done? When do I get to go home? When you go into work and you're like, oh man, I can't. I'm gonna do a 10-hour shift here. If they offer me 10 hours, like maybe you're set up for 10 hours, and you're like, I'll do 10 hours, man. I need the money. I need the money. And then they offered you to go home at the fifth hour because it's quiet. You're out of that place, and that's how I felt in this game. I was like, when can I turn this crap off? When do I have to stop playing this? So what happened was I met him. I popped him 3 times in the chest with the gun, and he just stalled, and I just walked off. And I was like, this isn't even scary. I mean, I got scared when he initially chased me, but like I was like, this whole game is me shooting this guy in the chest 3 times, trying to figure out the puzzle while he's stunned, and then just inevitably getting frustrated because the puzzle's just exceptionally poorly designed. Like, I just played a puzzle game, Kill It With Fire 2. Every element of that game was better, but you would look at the game, if I put the 2 games up side by side in terms of you just like a quick gameplay trailer, you would go, this game's way better because it looks better designed. And I think it is. I think the more ideas being put into it, I think more thought's being put into it. But again, they got so caught up in trying to make it like feel immersive that it felt too immersive to the point where I was just like, this now feels like a chore. And I've kind of harped really onto it's a chorey feeling. That, I don't know if that's even a word. It just felt like a chore to play the game, and it's so disappointing. And like, I 100% could play it on the channel, and it would get views because I'd be able to clip it up of me just losing my head at the game, which always does well. And also, just on a side note, I hope the lighting's good here. I've just kind of bought a second monitor. Lighting's kind of the next thing I'm going to work on a little bit. Just little changes, because we're still, as I said earlier in the video, we're still quite new here. So I'm not going to go out and spend hundreds of quid on a load of stuff just to start YouTube, when inevitably for most people it doesn't even work out. You know, I've more gone, let's be practical and make little adjustments where I can over time. So look, I want to say, like, thanks for coming along. I have more negative things to say. Like, I could sit here, the list goes on and on and on, but it just wasn't a good, well-designed game. And you're gonna go, but you said it was well designed. I mean, like, the coding and stuff is really well designed. The actual, like, how they planned out for players to play through their levels, really poorly designed. Like, designed by people who knew how the levels were gonna finish. That's what it felt like. It was like, you guys know the answer to this level. I don't. Like, I don't know anything. And it's a game's job to make me understand. You shouldn't be sat there an hour into the tutorial just going, what is going on? And that's just bad design. And there might be people in the comments going, well, obviously this, that. I did have 3 hours sleep in me. I was hungover when I played this game, but it's a video game. I play video games all the time when I'm tired and hungover, and I'm not hungover all the time, but when I'm tired and hungover, and no problems, no confusion. I play Paradox games, and I have hundreds and thousands of hours in them, and I'm decent at them. So if we're talking complex games, I'm well aware to get my head around them. If you start combining, I think puzzle and horror as an element together did not work. When, like, it worked for Kill It With Fire 2 because the puzzles, they kept the puzzles simple, and also they didn't have the pressure of trying to finish the puzzles while also being attacked, because I could just imagine that. I already found the puzzles just really annoying without being attacked. I'm like, while being attacked, I could just tell what was going to happen was I would let myself die rather than run away from it every time, and just go back and go, oh, well, this is how I complete the puzzle now. And now all of a sudden you've turned your immersive game into an actual game, because now I'm just treating it like a game where I'm going, well, if I die, it doesn't matter, so let me just keep running back to the same spot and I'll figure it out eventually. And that's just not a fun concept. So if you stuck the whole way through, I really appreciate it. Please do like and subscribe. Again, I really am hampering on about us being new, but it is important, you know, you're trying to kind of work your way into a space that has so many content creators. And at the end of the day, I'm not asking you to subscribe because I'm going to make the bestest videos in the world. I mean, I'm going to try, but I don't know if that's going to happen. But just subscribe, because if you like me, if you like how I talk about things, I'm always going to give my honest opinion, and I'm going to be brutally harsh when I need to be, like in this video, and I'll be lenient when it's okay, when I need to be lenient, and not to do with sponsorships or anything, but just when I mean, if the gameplay itself is actually good, even if it's not my type of game, I will give it a good score. This game was just bad, and I don't even think if you were into puzzle games you would have enjoyed this game. Maybe you would have, but again, check out other people. Like, do not buy this game based off my review. Go check out other people who completed the whole game. They might have a completely different thing to say than what I've said, but on my initial kind of thoughts of this game, of playing it for 2 hours and not even wanting to pick it back up, really, really bad. So yeah, best of luck to anyone who watched, and enjoy your day, lads. Thank you.